Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm at the Palm Beach International Airport. I'm flying up to LaGuardia and you're coming along with me. Coming up in this detailed video, you're coming with me to the Palm Beach International Airport as we make a grand takeoff to the east aboard a Delta A321 as we leave the warm Florida weather. En route, we'll wave to our friends in the sky, but the star of the show is the fact that I strategically sat on the right side of the plane for this, the best approach in the world. I can't wait to bring you along. Before we get started, I want to let you know that I'm now on Patreon. Patreon is the best way for you to support this channel and receive exclusive benefits. I'm starting off with something basic, but there will be more to come in the future. There's a link for my Patreon page in the description below. All right, I'm at the terminal here at PBI. Let's go inside. It's been about 10 years since I've been to this airport, so I'm excited to be back. The door that I entered the terminal through led me right to where I needed to be, the Delta Airlines check-in desk. I had one bag to drop off before going through security, and this was the place to do it. After that, I made my way down so I can go through the TSA checkpoint to get to where I want to be, airside. Okay, I just completed TSA here at the PBIA, and it's time to go over to the Delta Sky Club. This is going to be one of my last visits ever to a Delta Sky Club. If you've been following my channel, you know that the new spending thresholds for Diamond Medallion status aren't achievable for me. That means that I'll have to settle for Platinum Medallion, which does not allow for free Sky Club access. This video was filmed in late 2023 when I was still a Diamond. That's my gate over there. I'm going to pass by it, go to the Sky Club. We'll be back later. It was nice to have a Sky Club at this Delta station, which is not a hub, but Delta serves 6 destinations from here. Today I'm flying to my favorite airport and Delta hub of LaGuardia. Let's go inside. All right, you gotta love it when the Sky Club has a view. That's an A320 behind me. Now, typically, this route is offered on an Airbus A319 or A320. Today, my flight is on an A321. Travel demand is pretty high right now, so they're using a larger aircraft. I would have preferred the smaller airplane. I'm flying on the A321 quite a lot these days, but it is what it is. And way out there in the distance is a site that's been very familiar at LaGuardia over the years. Look, it's November 757 Alpha Foxtrot, the rare Boeing 757 owned by Donald Trump. This plane has been an icon at LaGuardia for many years, but today it's here at PBI, which is just a few miles away from Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. We'll be flying right over Mar-a-Lago today on our eastbound takeoff heading. If that 757 is not at PBI, it's at LGA. Here it is at LaGuardia, seen from a recent departing flight I took. It usually parks near the path for runway 13 departures. I'm in this Sky Club to eat, and I have to say, often I think that the food in the smaller Sky Clubs like this is better than the mega Sky Clubs. My seat will be in the main cabin, and a Biscoff cookie and drink won't be sufficient, so I'm filling up here at PBI. This club has got ice cream sandwiches. That's not bad, but I can't help but think about my departure today. Today the wind is coming out from over the ocean, which means that we're going to take off towards the direction of the ocean. We've got a nice little airport diagram here. We're actually located right over here. We'll taxi out in this direction, take off this way, and fly to the left, to the north, towards LaGuardia. Can't wait. And the runway that we'll be taking off on, runway 10 left, is being used as a departure runway 2. And here's the current queue of departures. So the runway is being used for mixed operations today, which slows things down. PBI has 3 runways, but only 2 of them can be used for airliners. Today my flight number is 2466, and it's a round robin originating in LaGuardia. It's about to land in Palm Beach any moment now. And here it comes. My soon-to-be-flown-on A321 is on final approach to runway 10 left after having performed a left-hand traffic pattern to the runway after approaching the South Florida area from the north. Check out the video of my flight to PBI where I fly the same approach. In that video, I strategically sat on the left side of the plane since we made left-hand turns to the runway. The side of the airplane that I sit on is the most important part of the seat selection process, and if you're new to this channel, you'll see why in many of my previous videos. Today's seat selection for my flight to LaGuardia is going to pay off. You'll see why toward the end of the video. Love it when you get a great view of the aircraft landing from the Sky Club. What's that? I'm not so sure what that spinning thing was, but I am sure that it's time to head out of the Sky Club and into the concourse because boarding will occur soon and I have some extra time to explore the concourse before going to my gate. It was a busy holiday travel season and the concourse was full of airline passengers. My gate is not in this direction, but I just love airports, so I want to check everything out. If I didn't check out at least this concourse, I would not feel complete, even though my gate is close to the TSA checkpoint. It's been about 10 years since I last flew out of this airport. It's a little bit dated, I have to say, but I'm excited to bring a different airport to this channel. And of course, I'm flying to my favorite, LaGuardia. I walked to the end of the concourse and checked out some stores before I turned around. All right, I'm walking the other way. There's an A321 waiting for me. And here she is, just waiting for her passengers to board to get to New York City. Today's tail number is November 350 Delta November. And our flight number will be 2466. And we're all set to board. All right, well, just as boarding began, they've now paused the boarding process. They invited all passengers that needed special assistance to go on board, and they stopped boarding. Apparently, there's an issue with one of the seats on the airplane, and they have to call some contractors out here before they can actually board the rest of the aircraft. They haven't even boarded first class yet. All right, that delay only lasted about 8 minutes or so. We are now boarding the A321 headed up to LaGuardia Airport. And here's the final exterior view of the plane before boarding. Why are these windows so small? I always want to get a view of my aircraft. All right, I'm on board now, the aircraft. All right, today my seat's going to be in the very rear of this Airbus A321. This is the most common aircraft type that I fly these days. Gotta open the windows. And under the TV screen, which is used by most passengers to watch movies, I've attached an airport diagram. There's my IFE. Well, the real IFE, or in-flight entertainment, is the view outside, but I'm sure many of the passengers will be glued to their TV screens during the flight. They don't know what they'll be missing. It's all window views for me. And I'm starting my viewing now by looking at the airport beacon light atop the terminal.
Realize we're a few minutes past our originally scheduled departure time, but as soon as you get everybody in your seats, should be able to close the boarding door, get you underway.
Now, you'll notice I'm sitting on the right side of the plane. There's a reason for that, a real good reason, but I'll get to that later on. For now, it should be a pretty easy taxi to the runway today.
Welcome aboard on today's flight. My name is Frida and I'll be your flight lead. Me and 3 other wonderful Minneapolis-based flight attendants are excited to take care of you today. Before we depart, we do kindly ask you to please make sure you pay attention to the video screens for a brief presentation of the safety features of our aircraft 321. And if your video monitors are not working, please let us know.
Some of you asked why I play music over the takeoff and landing. Babies are crying sometimes. We're pushing back from the gate closest to the terminal roadway, and the aim of the tug is to have our nose face outward toward the active taxiway system. In the flight deck, we're not yet talking to the controllers in the control tower, as this area is the ramp and is not governed by the FAA. Alright, the safety video is on now, but in the cockpit, we're getting ready to call ground control for taxi clearance to the runway. The tug has been removed, and we're just waiting for the ground controller to tell us which taxiways to take to get to the departure runway. I am all eyes out the window for this exciting moment when we get to move under our own power. Here we go. We're just a few minutes behind schedule, but we should get into LaGuardia right on time. Today, our departure runway will be 10 left, which is the runway we saw operations on from the Sky Club window. Remember that this runway is being used as both an arrival and departure runway today. So at this point, the controller has to carefully manage aircraft going to the terminal, as well as aircraft like us that are leaving the terminal, ensuring that there is no conflict. Today, taxiway Charlie will take us there. We just left the ramp on taxiway Charlie 8, and the next taxiway will be Charlie 7. I enjoy following along with the airport diagram. You can see Charlie 8 here, and we'll take taxiway Charlie and pass by Charlie 7, which you can now see here out the window. Alright, we didn't use Charlie 7 when we passed by it, and it's nice to have a reference point. What I'm looking forward to is the runway crossing coming up. To get to runway 10 left, we have to cross runway 1432, and the yellow and black paint that you see on the ground means that we've entered the runway zone, even though we're still on taxiway Charlie, which crosses the runway. We can't cross the runway unless we receive clearance from the ground controller to do so, and today we're crossing the runway with no delay. See those red and white barriers on the runway? This means that runway 1432 is closed today, which explains why runway 10 left is being used for both arrivals and departures. Runway 10 left does have a parallel runway, runway 10 right, but it's way too small for airline traffic to use. Just a little bit longer on taxiway Charlie, and then we'll be on the runway, and we'll take off. We're moving along on taxiway Charlie with no one ahead of us. Things are looking good, but in the air traffic control facilities, the fact that many planes are headed to LaGuardia is causing a delay message to be relayed to the pilot, who comes on the PA system to tell the passengers.
Air traffic control is telling us that we have a flow time for takeoff, which is 16 minutes past the hour. That's about 6 minutes from now, so we're just going to sit down here at the end of the runway. Hopefully they'll let us go just a few minutes early, but once we do get airborne again, it's going to be 2 hours and 22 minutes planned flying time. Hoping that they'll let us go earlier this time. We'll ask our flight attendants to please prepare the cabin for departure.
All right, just a few minutes here and then we'll be in the air. More time on an airplane. This is something that happens about half the time when I fly to LaGuardia. There's a lot of traffic heading out there today. Not a big deal though. Not a bad view of this Gulfstream and its hangar while we wait. Before I knew it, however, we were given clearance to enter the runway. Okay, we're ready for the Slides 2. The Slides 2 is the name of the departure procedure that we'll be following after takeoff. It will call for a heading of 99 degrees after takeoff before we turn to the left to the northeast. 99 degrees is runway heading, so we'll fly straight out, and at the moment there are no aircraft on final approach, so the tower controller gives us permission to enter the 10,001 foot long runway 10 left. We're taking the runway at a slower period at PBI, and we'll have no further delays getting off the ground. Without the boarding delay and slight ATC delay, we could have been where we are now 16 minutes earlier, but since airlines pad their schedules with more than 16 extra minutes, small delays like this don't have an effect on on-time performance numbers. With takeoff clearance, we'll roll eastbound parallel to the shorter runway 10 right, which will only be off our right side for around 3,500 feet. We'll cross runway 1432, then immediately rotate to the skies. We're leaving airport property and are about to cross Interstate 95, which we'll see once again on final approach to LaGuardia. Yes, we could have taken I-95 to New York, but why would I do that when I can fly? We're paralleling Southern Boulevard, looking to the south at mainland Florida at the southern part of Palm Beach. Just beyond that is Lake Worth Beach. Parallel to I-95 is US 1, another road we could take to New York this evening, but it would be a lot slower than I-95. I'm just so happy where we are right now on this climbing A321, which is approaching the Lake Worth Lagoon, a body of water used by recreational boaters that's part of the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway. And if we were on a boat, we could also take that to New York for most of the journey. The barrier island before we fly over the Atlantic Ocean is Palm Beach itself, and on the island are large and expansive residences, including Mar-a-Lago, which is almost directly under our flight path. So the ride from that private 757 that we saw earlier to Mar-a-Lago is short and a straight drive from PBI. Navigationally, we're flying straight to a waypoint called Carmen, and once we reach it at around 2,500 feet, we'll start a left-hand turn to the northeast heading of 51 degrees to a waypoint called Ryder as we continue the climb. In the flight deck, the crew is talking to Palm Beach Departure Control at the Palm Beach Tracon. For this climb out, a seat on the left-hand side of the plane would be more ideal for a view of the coastline. However, the northeast heading will just make us fly further and further away from the land. I'm seated on the right side of this plane for the approach to LaGuardia this evening because the wind is coming from the south, and that favors runway 22 to be the arrival runway, with runway 13 as the departure runway, creating a right-hand traffic pattern to runway 22. And with this scenario, if we're lucky, Manhattan will be on the right side of this plane as we fly by it at 4,000 feet. I'm already thinking about the approach since there isn't much to see over the water.
We're cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Obviously, still a little bit choppy here, so the seatbelt sign is still on. Again, it should smooth out for us about another 10 minutes. Just lasts a little bit longer than we thought on the ground, but it will smooth out for us here. So I'm going to have the flight attendants remain seated for the time being, and hopefully they'll be able to start that soon. Right now, showing us touching down in LaGuardia right at 38 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. So as long as the gate is open and no delays on the taxi, you should still be looking at an on-time arrival.
Typical for LaGuardia, as long as the gate is open. For now, we need to climb to our cruising altitude in a very heavily used air corridor. There are lots of flights here, and since there isn't much to see down below, I'm looking around carefully, looking for other high-altitude traffic, like this JetBlue A320 from Fort Lauderdale to JFK. This is a United 737-800 MAX from Miami going to its Newark hub. I can't see the water down there with all the clouds, but there's a lot to see up here. Here's our route. The first part is over the ocean. By this point, we're joining the mix of other aircraft headed up to the New York City area. Here's that United flight to Newark. It's getting closer to us. I wonder if anyone on the left side of that plane is looking at us. Flying in the opposite direction is a Delta 737-800 flying from its JFK hub to Miami. That's followed by an American A321neo from its Philadelphia hub to Fort Lauderdale. This United 737-9 MAX is going from Newark to Fort Lauderdale. Here's a sister aircraft to ours, an identical Delta A321 from LaGuardia to Fort Lauderdale. In the distance is a Norsk 787 from Berlin to Miami. That's an interesting route. Oh boy, am I loving seeing this traffic from here today. Like this plane. That was a Eurowings Discover A330 from Frankfurt to Orlando. And just below us is an American A321 from Philadelphia going to PBI, where it will probably land on the same runway that we just took off from. It's getting darker out, so I'm thinking and hoping for something further down the line. Fingers are crossed. LaGuardia is landing 2-2 with right traffic, and I'm on the right side of the airplane. This could be great. We're about to make landfall for the land portion of our flight. That happens right around Wilmington. I'm pretty excited about the fact that we're going to fly the Corey arrival to LaGuardia. I just hope that the interior cabin lights are kept as low or off as long as possible. The Corey arrival is for flights to LaGuardia from the south, like this one, and because it's getting darker out, I'm relying on darkness in the cabin to prevent reflection on the windows. City lights made this city easy to see as the sun dips below the horizon on the other side of the plane. That's Greenville down there. Norfolk and Newport News were well illuminated as we passed on the west side of these cities. What great views. Why waste your time by going to the restroom when you've got views like this? Sorry, no lure view on this A321 flight. We're on the Corey arrival now, and I'm all eyes out the window. It's cloudy on the Corey, but I'm counting on better views later. We're over New Jersey now, but the forecast is showing good weather in New York City. I can't wait. All right, well, they put the cabin lights on to do their safety checks. Fortunately,
it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board on tonight's flight. To prepare for landing, please ensure your seatbelt is fastened. Your seat back and tray table are in the upright and locked position, and the armrests are in resting position. If your seat has a video monitor that extends from the armrest, it must be started this time. Also, please ensure all larger devices, such as laptops, are stored at this time. In a bag under the seat in front of you, as they might not be stored in seat pockets. You may continue to use mobile devices as long as they are properly secured. Finally, please check around your seat for any remaining cups, glasses, or any other items you would like to discard. Invite them to the flight attendants as we come through the cabin. We'll be landing shortly.
As I was saying, the cabin lights went on as we started our initial descent here to LaGuardia. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see that much out the window due to the cloud cover. It's very difficult to focus, so it's okay at this point. But if there was a lot to see out there, I would not be happy. We'll be on the ground very shortly at LaGuardia. And as of this moment, aircraft ahead of us are landing on runway 22 with the right traffic, so I'm hoping for the absolute best tonight. Well, we broke out of the clouds. Hopefully we'll shut the lights off soon. This is what it looks like when you try to film at night when the lights are on. All right, we're getting there. Well, we'll be in for a treat this evening. My selection of a seat on the right side of this A321 will pay off because of the work of one person in Nassau County. As we fly over northern New Jersey approaching New York Bay, someone in a radar approach room at the New York Approach Control Facility handling arrivals to LaGuardia will be providing us with clearances to descend to 4,000 feet and fly northbound on the Hudson River. Take a look at a map of New York City, and you'll see that if you're going to fly north in the Hudson, Manhattan will be on the right side of the airplane. It's this basic concept that prompted me to pick my seat on the right side of the plane. I knew, at least the day before my flight, that the wind would be coming from due south, meaning that the winds would favor runways 22 and 13 at LaGuardia. When these two runways have headwinds, runway 22 is always used for landing, and runway 13 is always used for takeoff. And since runway 13 departures will occupy airspace to the east of LaGuardia, we'll have to pass by the airport to its west before turning back around to land on runway 22. And the area where we will pass by LaGuardia to its west will be northbound on the Hudson River. Now, this is not guaranteed, as the approach controller could have us fly over Manhattan or up the East River, but tonight, all planes are going right up the Hudson with Manhattan on the right. For now, we see Brooklyn, which is very well lit and easy to identify as it sits against the Atlantic Ocean. Our nose is pointed to the north so that the Hudson River is always in front of us. Brooklyn will eventually become Queens, but Manhattan will emerge in the foreground with its tall and many super tall skyscrapers. This is going to be an approach to remember. I've done this many times, and each time it's like the first time. It's that exciting. Here we are flying directly over the Verrazano Bridge, which connects Brooklyn with Staten Island, which is visible on the other side. The population of Brooklyn is over 2.7 million, making it the most populous borough. Beyond Brooklyn is Queens, located on the same island as Brooklyn, Long Island. We can see JFK Airport just beyond Jamaica Bay in Queens at the top of the screen, but we'll be landing at the other airport in Queens, LaGuardia. We'll see LaGuardia once we pass by Manhattan, but we still have about 12 minutes left until we touch down. With the wind out of the south and us heading north right now, we will have to go well past the airport, then turn around to the south to land. Our position here, west of JFK to our right and east of Newark, which is off of our left, provides a corridor for us to get to the final approach course via a right-hand turn over Westchester County. In about 30 seconds, we will begin to see Lower Manhattan with its cluster of buildings, including the tallest building in New York, One World Trade Center, whose spire will be illuminated with changing colors. After the small cluster of downtown skyscrapers, we'll pass by an area of lower buildings before reaching Midtown, with iconic buildings like the Empire State Building and many new super tall structures that have emerged in the last few years. We'll be seeing everything from 4,000 feet to allow general aviation aircraft below us to fly up and down the Hudson. Are you ready for the best city view on approach to any airport in the world? It all starts right now. We have passed by the entire island of Manhattan in just 3 minutes. In the foreground, we can see the Bronx, which we'll be passing by twice, once here and a second time on its other side. The circle shows where LaGuardia Airport is. It will take a series of right-hand turns to get there. However, the point at which we will turn will be determined by how much traffic there is ahead of us. With many airplanes coming into LaGuardia this evening, we'll be flying several more miles ahead into Westchester County before turning right and descending lower to join the final approach course to runway 22. There are 2 flows of traffic to LaGuardia. The flow that we're on, of flights coming up the Hudson, and a second flow of flights coming into LaGuardia from the north, straight into runway 22. The approach controller must sequence planes from both flows to the runway, and tonight there are planes on both flows, causing us to go out a bit further than I've showcased in some of my recent videos of this approach. After being issued a series of right turns, lower speeds, and lower altitudes, we are now on the final approach course to runway 22, looking again at Interstate 95. Remember when we saw it in Florida? That's the same road down there on the east side of the Bronx. We've made a big circle around the Bronx and are flying into the wind for touchdown. We're also now talking to the control tower at the airport itself, who issues us clearance to land. The runway is about 5 miles ahead of us now, and we're all configured to land with the landing gear down in the locked position. This flight is almost over.
Welcome to New York City, where the local time is 6:43 p.m. Please stay seated with your seatbelt fastened and carry-on items stowed until Captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. Be careful when opening overhead bins to avoid injury from items that might have shifted during flight. And please ensure you have all of your personal belongings before deplaning. As we reach our gate, we invite you to use the Fly Delta app for important baggage or any connection information. You may receive an email asking you to share your feedback. We value your feedback and use your responses to improve your future travel experiences. On behalf of this Minneapolis-based crew, we thank you for choosing Delta, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, we just pulled
Flight
in the
attendants,
gate.
prepare doors for arrival. Cross-check and all call.
All right, we just pulled in the gate 77 here at LaGuardia's Terminal C. Thank you. Love those approaches. Welcome to LaGuardia Airport. All right, it's time to enter the beautiful Terminal C here at LaGuardia Airport. What a great flight that was. Looks like this aircraft is heading back down to West Palm Beach again. Well, thanks so much for watching this video. It was such a pleasure to take you along with me on this flight from West Palm Beach to LaGuardia Airport. Remember that if you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click on the subscribe button, hit the bell button, and rest assured, I'll be back with many more great aviation videos like this. Thanks everybody, and see you soon.